Hello there and welcome. This is Mikhail or Michael speaking, and as always before the video starts, I want to express my gratitude towards those who decided to support me financially, be it through Patreon, PayPal or Super Thanks. I really appreciate your generosity, so thank you friends and have a blessed day. Now, today's video I will start with the Kharkiv front, to be more specific, Kupiansk frontline. In the last 24 hours, Russians continuously attacked Ukrainian positions within the settlement of Sinikivka, across the open field in the direction of Petropavlivka, and here in the direction of these group of settlements. First, let's touch the situation around Sinikivka. Situation around it remains to be interesting because there are some sources that claim that Sinikivka is now in full Russian control. Other sources, however, claim that Russians only entered the settlement and the fighting for the control of the settlement is still ongoing. In reaction to this breakthrough and other breakthroughs that happened on this front line as well, which I will cover a little bit later, Ukrainians decided to evacuate this entire sector. Here in gray, you can see the extent of that evacuation. And of course, here is a document which will put that evacuation in motion. There are heavy fighting here in this forested area. There is a lot of back and forth because both Russians and Ukrainians are constantly attacking and counter-attacking each other in an attempt to gain control over this forest. For Russians, it is important because they need to spread the zone of control around Liman Pershий and reach Oskil River. And for the Ukrainians, it is important because they need to put Liman Pershий in danger as fast as possible. It is Liman Pershий that Russians are using in order to launch their assaults in this sector. There are even claims that Russians are about 7 kilometers from the Kupiansk city. Then let's visit this part of the front line where we can see a small group of settlements. Kotlярivka, Kislivka, Ivanivka, and Stepova Novoselivka. Here in this sector, Russians were attacking as well, and as a result of these attacks, were able to take this much territory from the Ukrainian side. Now, a lot of people have said that it is almost impossible to see red on this map, so for that I will use black color. So as you can see by the territorial changes, Russians were successful at attacking here on this sector, putting these two settlements in danger of at least partial encirclement. Now, it is also important to note that as small as the settlements are, they still serve as a great stronghold. And if Russians continue to advance in the manner that they have been doing in the last few days, we can expect these settlements to be neither captured or abandoned by the Ukrainian side, with Russians moving in. The upcoming evacuation of the settlements that has been called up in this sector again is a sign that Ukrainians understand the danger of these Russian breakthroughs. It has been about 4 days since Russians had become very active on this front, and it doesn't seem like Ukrainians were able to reinforce it enough to stop these Russian advancements. In case of these settlements falling, we can see that Russians will be extremely close to this major road that supplies this front line, so perhaps we are witnessing a start of a catastrophe for the Ukrainian side on this front. Now, it is important to note that there are some troops that are still preoccupied with this Russian bridgehead located here, near the Svatovo city. Perhaps this Russian attack, which at first did not have any strategic value within it, was a diversion, so then Ukrainians would transfer their reserves in attempt to deal with it, and then Russians attacking, exploiting that situation. In any way, it would be interesting to hear your opinion on it, so please visit the comment section and tell me whether what I just said makes sense. Then from here, let's visit Bakhmut. Before we do that, let's visit the Solidar front line, where Russians made a small territory gain, which looks like this. As you can see, nothing special, but this gets Russians closer to Razdalivka and gets Ukrainian further away from Krasnopolivka and Mykolaiivka. Then to the Bakhmut city itself, or to be more precise, its southern flank. When I was in the middle of uploading my video yesterday, I received an information that Russians had counterattacked Ukrainian forces from Kurdyumovka, and as a result of that were able to push Ukrainians away from Zelenopilya and Kurdyumovka. This is how much territory Russians were able to recapture in that successful counterattack. Not only did this successful Russian counterattack put a massive buffer zone in between Ukrainian forces and settlement of Kurdyumovka and Zelenopilya, this also endangered Ukrainian forces within now established bridgehead. Now, when Ukrainians would attempt to attack in the direction of Andreevka, they will end up in a semi-encirclement. or to put it simply, pocket. So this counterattack not only saved these two settlements, but also settlement of Andreevka. Then there's interesting news coming from Klishchevka settlement. Some reports suggest that Ukrainians stopped attacking in the direction of Klishchevka itself and doubled down on their attacks to the northeast of it, and as a result had taken some territories from the Russian side. Perhaps this is Ukrainian attempt at penetrating Russian defensive lines where they could be weaker, and we are witnessing a start of flank attack in the direction of Klishchevka. As you can see, one of the flanks is already under the Ukrainian control, but as I said earlier, it could be compromised because of a recent Russian counterattack. Then from here, let's visit the Zaporozhian front line. First, let's touch the Vremivka tactical bridgehead. In the last 24 hours, Ukrainians continued their attempts at capturing Urozhaina settlement. They've done so by attacking the settlement directly and to the flank of it. However, there are no territorial gains to report as of right now, and it is safe to say that at this point in time, Russian defenses around Urozhaina held Ukrainian assaults. Now, it is interesting to note that the very outskirts of Urozhaina is still in the gray zone, and I think that settlement of Urozhaina will share the fate of Staromayorsk. The Russians will deplete its possibilities of defense, wait for as long as possible until every building in the settlement would be rendered useless for defensive capabilities, and retreat, leaving the settlement in the gray zone. And by capturing the settlement, Ukrainians will not gain any tactical or strategical victory. At this point in time, it would seem that Russians had designed a trap for the Ukrainian forces to walk into. While we're here, I have an interesting video for you, a pretty rare one, which I haven't seen before. It is video of Russian sapper group sneaking behind Ukrainian defensive lines and destroying immobilized Ukrainian tank. Before we leave Vremivka tactical bridgehead, it is important to note that there were reported Ukrainian assaults in the direction of Novodonetsk and Priyutne, but at the time of me recording, there are no territorial changes reported, so it would be safe to say that these assaults failed. From here, let's move to the Zaporozhian front line. To be more specific, Orikhiv direction. In the last 24 hours, Ukrainians doubled down and assaulted Russian positions yet again, traditionally attacking to the south of Rabotina, as well as in the direction of the first line of defense, which stands in between Verbove and Ukrainian army. As a result of these assaults, Ukrainians were able to recover some of the territories, once again reaching the first line of defense. At this point in time, the Ukrainian assaults have died down significantly, and there are reports that some of the Ukrainian infantry regiments are attempting a limited attack in the direction of Rabotina along these force lines. However, they are being easily spotted by the Russian artillery and destroyed on the move. Then at last, let's move to the Kherson front. First, the Antonovsky bridge situation. It would seem that Ukrainians were able to significantly expand their bridgehead here on these islands, and as you can see, captured this entire portion. And then there were also reports that Ukrainians have landed near Kazachyi Lageri and also establish a bridgehead here. Logic of these Ukrainian amphibious assaults to me is unclear. Perhaps they want to capture all of these islands and then launch simultaneous attacks all across the Dnipro River in attempt to penetrate Russian defensive lines at least somewhere and establish a bridgehead within some settlements. Because if we zoom in and look at the territories they were able to capture, they cannot be supplied whatsoever because there is no road system or anything that could be used as a logistical hub. Again, I would like to hear your opinion on this, so please express it in the comment section. In any way, this is the end of the video. As always, I hope you liked it. If you did, please consider supporting it with a like, comment, and if you haven't subscribed, a subscription. This really helps promote this video, thus spreading the message. As always, humanity calls me to condemn all violence against human beings. Have a good day, and always remember, Russia will be free and great.